So this is my red cookbook, falling to pieces.
Anne Hunt and Patricia McFarland live at Somerset Retirement Village in Auckland's Flatbush. They have some thoughts about the current cost of groceries.
I would not like to be in a family at the moment trying to provide good, healthy, fresh food for my family, because I look at the prices in the supermarkets and I think, how on earth can a family afford those prices? The dairy and the butter and the cheese is just beyond a joke.
I can see it must be very hard for people, very hard indeed. We have so many takeaways now that a lot of children now would grow up not knowing any different. Comparing to some of the food that you'd buy in the supermarket, there probably isn't much difference in price in the end.
Each of them have memories of food rationing when it began in 1942 and lasted until 1950. Ration books were registered with local shops and contained a page of emergency counterfoils to be used if you were away from home and unable to get butter or sugar from the local grocer.
When I was going to be married, my mother bought me this red recipe book, and my job was to get her red recipe book and copy all her recipes into my book.
Anne grew up in Auckland and was 5 years old when the Second World War came to an end. For the next several years, life on rations continued.
My job as probably more like 5 to 7, but to walk the kilometre and a half to the shop once a week to get whatever the food was that was on ration, the milk or the butter particularly, flour, sometimes it was just meat, definitely rationed meat.
To keep their food fresh, Anne's family used an ice chest and preserved eggs in a jar of jelly.
I'm not quite sure what kind of gel it was, but it was my worst thing I had to do, was put my hand in and get the egg out for my mother.
She says food was basic, but it was all they knew. They had sandwiches for school, a banana if you were lucky. Everything was homemade growing up, but due to rationing, they often had to make do without butter or eggs. Her wartime recipe is Myrtle's pudding, which came from her mother-in-law.
And it used a tin of unsweetened condensed milk, and condensed milk and evaporated milk were on everybody's shelves because half the time we couldn't get fresh milk.
Other ingredients mixed in are a tin of condensed milk, sugar, gelatin, lemon juice and vanilla.
Very like some of the puddings that are now fashionable today, the blancmanges and things like that. Beat until thick and pour it into a tin and set it. That's it.
Patricia McFarland was just 6 months old when the war broke out, living in the UK country of Shropshire. Their school lunches were mostly meat, vegetables and steamed pudding. At home, it was a different story.
All we could have for tea was bread and jam. That was all there was, except my brother liked condensed milk sandwiches or HP sauce sandwiches, but there's no such thing as meat.
Her recipe is an emergency fidget pie, with carrots, potatoes, swedes and onion, covered in gravy or cheese and pastry.
So it would all go in that, and cover it with pastry. Now that would be an issue on itself, because we didn't have much in the way of butter, and so if it said 6 ounces of butter, or 6 ounces of shortening, they'd use the word, 2 ounces of butter, 2 ounces of margarine, which is pretty awful, and 2 ounces of lard. So you'd mix that all up to make the pastry.
Anne and Patricia are hoping food prices come down for future generations, but say their wartime recipes might help those looking to make do with less.